Hey, it's Chrissy from Little Indigo Hoops, and I'm going to go over the practice hoop that comes with my DIY kit found in my Etsy shop. So you're going to get a hoop similar to this, but you're going to see some stitching already done. I'm going to do that with you so that you can see the demonstration. So first I have already knotted one end of my floss here. Oh, excuse my fingers. I did some spray painting today, and although I have a million pairs of latex gloves, for some reason I didn't put them on. So my fingers are a little bit silver. They're not dirty, they're just painted. So we are gonna thread our needle. Okay. If you have trouble threading your needle, you will also find in your kit a needle threader if you ordered the deluxe. So this is how that works. You take your needle and just hook it on like that, and take the end of your floss without the knot, put it over the hook like that. Okay, and then you're gonna slide. Okay, doesn't want to. Oh, it's crooked. Bend it. Okay, you're gonna just slide it over like that, and now your needle is threaded. Okay, so you have two needles in your kit also, in case you're wondering. And the one with the larger eye I use for 6 strands of floss, and the one with the smaller eye and it's slightly shorter I use for the 3 strands of floss. I use the different amounts to get some variation in the hoop with the flowers and the stems and everything. So we're going to start with the straight stitch, which you would use on the lettering for hello. I'm just going to start here and come up and down on the line here. So you're going to make short, even stitches. Come right back into the hole that you to match up with the other piece of thread. I noticed this got a little bit loose, so I'm going to tighten it. Okay, so this is the back stitch because you're working backwards. So we can feel, I know right away that I've got a little bird's nest on the back side. Now these, I'm glad this happened, because what you want to do is you don't want to pull it. You want to put your needle right in here and pull that up so it loosens it, and then you can pull it and it will come right out. Okay. It happens every now and again. To avoid it happening, you can, when you're in the middle of stitching, you can just let your floss and needle hang down and let it spin so that it unravels itself. You know, all the stitching kind of twists up the floss, and it will make it twist up on itself when you're stitching. It's no big deal. Oops, I don't like that little tiny tail. Just go up and down. So if you want to make curves in your letters or anywhere else, you need to make short little stitches. Okay, just like that. Just follow the line. And so the marking pen I used here is heat erasable. It's an erasable pen, and it works great on fabric because you can just wave a hairdryer or use an iron and the marks disappear. Watch this. My iron is still hot over here. Hang on. It is. So watch this. It's kind of cool. I guess my iron isn't as hot as I thought, but anyway. There it goes. It disappears. It would have gone in one swipe if my iron was hot, but it was kind of sitting over there on standby. So it just disappears just like that. It does leave a little bit of a residue on the fabric. So if you really were concerned and you wanted to get that off, I noticed that hot soapy water works. I've washed a couple things and had the residue removed that way. Okay. So we are just going to keep on stitching. You know, hand embroidery is a great activity because if you're going on a road trip and you're not the one driving, you can sit there and stitch. It's also, you know, just a nice way to relax. Maybe you don't feel like reading a book. You could do some stitching and it kind of helps you zone out without eating yourself silly, because you really can't be munching away on chips and popcorn or anything like that while you're stitching, because your hands would get dirty. And so this is a great way to pass the time, clear your mind, but not expand your waist. And then you've got something creative when you're done with it. So I always like to have activities like this in the winter time. You know, I pretend that I'm watching the Sunday afternoon football game, but I'm usually working on hand embroidery or crocheting or doing some, you know, hand quilting or something like that. And it's just nice, nice little activity where you can relax and make something pretty. So I will, you know, warn you that I found this to be highly addictive. So once you get going and you know the basics, you can stitch anything. Get your favorite phrase and put it on fabric, hang it on the wall, give it to a friend. So we're almost done with this. So when you get your practice hoop, this is going to be done for you right here, because I know some people are visual learners and it's nice to see what the stitch looks like before you try it out yourself. So you have this back stitch here that will be finished, and those are the same kind of stitches you're going to use for hello to practice. Okay, so there we go, we get to the end, and you see how that's kind of like puckery. So you do have to keep tightening your fabric sometimes. You just don't want it to be loose, because everything will get a little wonky and crooked, and then you may end up with puckers when you're finished. Like you won't be able to smooth it out because of the way you've stitched. So I'm going to show you how to end the stitch. This is what I usually do when I get to the end. I just run under the stitches. Oops, I went around the screw. Run under a couple of stitches like that, just to tie it off, and then I will cut it. Snip, snip. You can also cut a couple inches away from the needle and, you know, tie a knot here or whatever. There's a couple different ways to end it. So I'm going to start with another knot. Oops, sorry. Sometimes I don't realize I'm not on the camera. There we go, a little knot. And we are going to make the 5 spokes for our woven rose or wagon wheel. There's a bunch of different names for this online. So I cheat and use a star template because it has nice, evenly spaced points. I mean, I'm getting better at eyeballing them, but when you get your pattern, you probably have done the dots from some star stencils. We want you to have nice, even roses. I'm going to do one more and then I will be right back. It's too bad you can't pause these videos while you're recording. So I'm just going to edit in actually making the rose in 1 minute. So, stay tuned. All right, I'm back and we are going to finish the woven rose. So after you make the 5 spokes, and if you're making a larger one, you would put 7 or 9, but for the small size, 5 spokes is just enough. So you come up and now we're going to work on the top side of the fabric. Okay, and we're going to go over this one, under this one. Okay, and I'm just going to set it down because it's easier. So over, and then we're going to go under, and then you'll see it will start to come together. Sometimes I use the back end of the needle so that I don't catch anything. It's the blunt side. So just weave it over and under, over and under. You'll see what happens. Like that. I always try to do these first when I'm working on a meadow, because once you have a lot of other stitches on your hoop, they can get in the way, you catch them with the needle. So it's easier to do these first if you think about it ahead of time. If not, I mean, you can always add them in afterwards, but you just have to be a little bit more careful. So just keep going around until it's covered all of the spokes. Okay, so under, yeah, make sure you don't lose your place. If you do 2 over or 2 under, it's going to be lopsided, not look nice and round. So that one's going to go over that one, under this one, over, under. So over this one, under this one. Over, under, and you're just about done. Let's see. So I just kind of take a look at it and see if I'm seeing the spokes at all, and you can a little bit here and here, so I'll just go around again. So that's under, over, under, over, under, and I think one more lap around. Going to do it because I wanted to go over that one more time in particular. So when you are going to finish it, so we want to go over this one more time. So I'm just going to go right next to it and go under that. So that finishes off our woven rows, and you can fluff it a little bit. If you like, you can add French knots in the middle. So usually if I'm going to put a cluster of these on a hoop, I might do a couple different sizes, and then I might put some French knots nearby because then they look like buds of that flower. So the next one, I call this one the cone flower. It's just an upside down V. And these are one of the flowers that this one here is done with 6 strands of floss, but if you do it with 3 strands of floss, it gives it a little bit different look. So when I'm doing the ones that are in between, if you come up to the top or in between like this, it gives you a slightly different look also, okay? So you can just, mix things up to make your flowers look a little bit different, and you don't want them to look too robotic. So there's that one. And then I just flip it around. I could call this one a tulip. Sometimes I'll just put this, like a little, almost a stray one over here, right? Give it a little natural look. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, so now we're gonna do a couple of French knots. So I put 2 dots here. You're really not gonna go that far apart. You're really just gonna go a few pieces, a few strands of fabric over. Okay, so come up and you can wrap it once, twice, 3 times, and then you go right back in next to the hole, but not the same hole. Okay, just right next to it so that you have a little bit of fabric in between. So there's that. Okay, so that's 3 wraps with 6 strands. And now if you do, let's see, yeah, we'll do all 3. So then this is 2, 1, 2. And then we'll do 1 wrap. Just like that. Okay, so now you can see how they look different. That's just the pen mark that we'll get rid of with the iron. So that's 3 wraps, 2 wraps, and 1 wrap. Okay, and then we still have a little bit of floss left, so we're just going to keep using it until we run out. I don't like to waste floss, so I just keep going until I can't do any more stitches. Sometimes that might mean throwing in a tiny French knot here and there, or just coming up and down, and leaving, you know, just a little bit of a tiny stitch here and there. Adds a fleck of color, fills in the blank space. This one, I think when it's finished, it almost looks like a chrysanthemum. Okay, so that's just about it. It's gonna come out of the needle if I do any more. So we're just gonna run it through the stitches like I showed you before. Cut it off, and we are gonna grab another little piece. I'm not gonna go nearly the length I normally do because I just want to finish this flower. So tie a knot at the end. Thread the needle. And so this one I just keep going around the circle, and then we're going to add, oops, we got one of those little knots. Remember, just pull it back, and then you can pull the end. You just have to kind of loosen it first. We're just going to start doing bits in between, and these ones I'll probably just go in between instead of the center, because the center will start to get really bulky. So just push it in between those. This is a nice flower too that you could use two different, oops, see, we've got a little bunch on the back. You could use two different color floss, like you could, you know, start with a dark orange and then do another round with a light orange just to give it more depth or variation. Just about done with this one. I think I'll put two in here. Okay. Just want to warm up my iron so I can get rid of those marks quickly. Oops, so we feel it tug like that, so we know we've got something going on in the back. Just pull it back a little bit. Okay. And the last one. Okay. Again, we're just going to run our needle under the stitches, trim it off. Okay, so you're going to get a hoop just like this in your kit, and down below or above, sometimes I reverse the order of how I do this, you're going to have the marker diagrams for you to mimic these 5 flowers. So these flowers are what I use to create my meadows. This one is the one I call summer. So I have just a few of the wagon wheels, and you see how if you can tilt them off of the stem or do them upside down, move them around. You can also do, I don't have an example here, but you could put one here and then here and then here and go all the way down the stem with it. And then I was saying before, if I just have a little bit of floss left but not enough for a flower, I just put these little tiny embellishments around the hoop to fill it up. These ones are just nice simple stars similar to this one, but you're just doing fewer spokes. And sometimes, like on this hoop, I've clustered the colors together, the purple, the pink, and sometimes I will take the purple and go all the way across, and then the yellow and go all the way across. So you can just do whatever you like. It's your meadow. Be creative as you want to be. If you go onto my Instagram page, Little Indigo Hoops, there are a lot of different examples of the meadows, and you can get some ideas. I mean, even when I'm stitching them, I will go back to see what kind of flowers or what kind of variations I used. And that's what you can do to create your very own hoop. So I'm going to take the iron right now and get rid of these marks right here. See how they just disappear? That little, just like that. Okay. And that is it for today. Happy stitching.